Hey everyone, so happy you're here. Remember, on Instagram on Saturday, I kind of mentioned some of this stuff already, but you don't have to remind me that being part of a family is nuts sometimes. It can be really hard. The good news is, this isn't something that has just popped up in our life. This has been going on for thousands of years, and people have dealt with it thousands of years ago. One of the things that I love about the Bible is it gives real people real chances to solve real problems, and we get to see how they responded to some of those issues. One of the people who did that was Joseph. Now, this dude, kind of a big deal when it comes to the Old Testament. Think about the craziest Netflix show. That was Joseph's life. He found himself in all kinds of situations that he had no clue what he was going to do. And for the next few weeks, we're going to dive into some of those situations. But for this week, we're going to focus in on his family. Now, Joseph had a massive family. He had a dad named Jacob. He had a mom named Rachel. And then he had 12 brothers, all of them who were older than he was because he was the baby of the family. And like I said, his story is crazy. So we find ourselves in Genesis chapter 37, and we're going to read about how Jacob, Joseph's dad, gave him a robe, a rainbow robe of many colors. Some of you have probably heard that before, but it was a physical reminder of how Jacob was the favorite out of all the other brothers. Kind of made the other brothers a little bit frustrated with him. But that wasn't the only issue that Joseph had. Joseph had all of a sudden started having dreams. So we pick it up in Genesis 37, verses 6 and 7. It says, he, Joseph, said to them, his brothers, listen to this dream that I had. We were binding sheaves of grain and out of the field, when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood above all the other ones, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed to it. Now, this really wasn't your typical dream. The brothers knew that this wasn't a typical dream. This dream wasn't about grain. It was about power. Joseph was sending a message. He was like, hey, listen. So that dream. Yeah, eventually I'm going to be more powerful than all of you, and you're going to bow down and worship me one day. And for the youngest brother to say this to all the other brothers, it wasn't going to fly. It wasn't going to happen. And so the passage keeps going. His brothers said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he said. The vibe was kind of harsh. Joseph's brothers were already over the fact that he got some amazing robe. They were already over the fact that there were these dreams. And then Joseph had to go and have another dream. This time it was about the sun and the moon and the stars all bowing down to him. Now the sun and the moon, that was mom and dad. That was Rachel and that was Jacob. And so he went and told his dad. The brothers still were not happy about this at all. And it was not the best move for him to go out and actually share that crazy dream of his. Can you imagine the tension that was in this family? Can you imagine how crazy it was? Joseph wasn't acting in a considerate way about any of this. Joseph was behaving the way that we sometimes do in our families. He was hyper aware of how we are being treated, but not really aware of how it affects everyone else around us. Joseph's family was pretty much the same way. All Joseph's brothers could see was how this whole situation affected them. And the unfairness, it was unfair, it was unjust. I mean, it's like Joseph receiving the robe was basically like the little brother who just turned 16, all of a sudden getting this really amazing car or truck, while the rest of the siblings are riding around in mom's minivan. It just wasn't right, and they saw that it wasn't right. The truth is, this story is about tension in the family and how it was never really dealt with. The tension was kind of left to grow and to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're still reading this story today for a very specific reason. For several reasons, actually. What are some of those reasons? It shows us that family has always been complicated, right? Family's always complicated. It teaches us to pay attention to our actions even though our situation affects everyone around and everyone we live with. And it reminds us that tension left unresolved or unconcluded will never go away. It always escalates into something so much bigger. But until then, until we kind of figure out everything, or until Joseph figures out everything, what could everyone in the family have done to kind of ease this situation and treat it differently? Well, number one, Joseph could have started to see himself as part of the problem, as one person in a large family and not the center of it. He's not numero uno. Number two, Dad could have recognized how his favoritism and how much he loved Joseph was kind of getting in the way and impacting everyone in the family. Number three, the brothers could have just chilled out. The brothers could have stepped back, set their grudges down, quit being upset, and stopped gossiping about Joseph. And then number four, everyone could have ignored Joseph's dreams and not allowed their insecurities, their own personal issues, to really control how they were feeling or what they were doing. The point is this: Joseph's family drama isn't all that different from ours. There is a role that you play in your family. You got to pay attention to how your words impact, how your actions impact the tone and the temperature of your family at home. Are you improving it? Are you making it more tense? If so, then decide what your role is going to be from here on out. In other words, pay attention to how you affect your family. And then choose how you'll treat them. If you aren't sure where to begin, take a look at this passage that Paul wrote to the church in Philippi. So Philippians. In some ways, these people worked like a family and were trying to figure out how to live together. So here's what Paul says. Philippians chapter 2, verses 3 through 8. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking to your own interests, but to each of you the interest of the other. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being the very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to their own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking on the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness and being found in appearance as a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Paul says, look, Jesus sets the perfect example here. He gave up all of his privileges. He was God. As Pastor Andrew says, he was God in a bod. He deserved to be treated like God. But he didn't require that from people. He chose to serve and have compassion on his brothers and sisters, on humans, and even when they didn't deserve it at all. And Paul is reminding the church in Philippi to be that kind of person with the people around them. So, the $1 million question: how do we do that when we don't even know how to start with our house or our family? Well, here's how we do that. We start by paying attention with how we see ourselves. Do you think or act like you're better than everyone else in your family or in your house? Maybe. Is that true? No, probably not. So what would it take to treat your siblings, your step-siblings, your parents, your step-parents, or the adults in your house equal, or maybe even better than you see yourself? Finally, and maybe this is the hardest one ever, we need to invite someone else to speak into how we treat our family. Honestly, it's nearly impossible to see clearly when we're right in the middle of it. Sometimes it takes someone on the outside looking in to have that 20/20 hindsight vision. In fact, asking someone older or wiser is one of the best things you can do when you don't know what to do. We're going to dive into that topic a lot more, and we're really excited to kind of flesh this part about family out further on down the line. We're going to be dropping our community group videos. We encourage you to go watch them, have a conversation with your friends, text them. Some of you are back in school already. Go ahead and ask your friends at school what they think about this. Anyways, thanks for joining us and have a great rest of your day.